All right, fellow TFFL owners, welcome back to this week's TFFL Webcast. It's Wednesday, January 14th, 2015, our first webcast of the new year. Happy New Year, everybody. And our first webcast of the 2015 TFFL season. We got lots to talk about. We're going to have a busy off-season ahead, I'm sure. A new TFFL season awaits us 9 months down the line. And, you know, one of our best webcasts, I think, of 2014 was the one that looked ahead a little bit, in my opinion. One of the best webcasts where we looked ahead. We both previewed the NFL draft and the TFFL drafts, thanks to Bill. We had Berto previewing some trades that might happen down the stretch and in the off-season. We're going to talk about those things again tonight, a lot more. This promises to be a fun hour ahead. I'm Stick, of course, managing editor of TFFL Media, leader of the Aliens. Joined as usual by our commissioner chief, by our now two-time defending champs, Jack's Giant Killers owner Berto.
Hey, Stick.
Hank, K-Wheels, little disappointing down the stretch, but still one of the dominant teams in the league.
Indeed, hope to continue. We'll see.
And our special guest, once again, a favorite of the webcast. Thorny from the Slippery Beavers.
Hola, amigos.
All right, so this really is going to be a grand 2015 off-season preview, but I thought it would be appropriate first to stop and give our 2014 champions their due. Congratulations, Berto. Congratulations to the Giant Killers. Not just a 2014 title, but now 2 straight titles, 4 titles in the last 6 years. I'm impressed. I'm jealous, and I'm a bit thrown for a loop, Berto, because you've done this in a way that isn't necessarily the traditional way, with a true stud quarterback dominating and leading the way. You've built a very balanced team, strong running backs, great tight end. You've made strong trades to do it. Well done.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. As usual, we'll start off with the TFFL trivia segment. You guys remember how this works. Write down your answers. Those of you watching at home, you can do the same. I'll give you the correct answer later in the show. We've now had, well, let me preface this. I understand the majority of the panel, a majority of the panel may not be sober here tonight. So I came up with a question that gives you a 50-50 shot. Tell me, 18 Pac Bowls we've had now in the modern era. Which conference has claimed the most titles? Maybe a little tougher to try to calculate that one in your head than you might think. Okay. While you start to ponder that, and before we really get into some debate and off-season forecasting of individual teams, let's have Chief give us a quick outlook for the league as a whole. Some key reminders, some to-dos that you might want to put on your list right now. But Chief, before you get to that, again, just as we congratulated Berto, I'd like to acknowledge a very nice first season as commissioner. Had a great year as a league, and I thought you did a really good job steering us the whole way, delegating when necessary. Thank you very much on behalf of the whole league.
Well, thank you. That was my pleasure.
Start leading us into 2015. What do we need to have on our calendars and to-do lists?
Well, it's the usual. I don't like to get ahead of ourselves. I think the first thing we want to do and what we should do is discuss, debate, and vote on the rules. And Bill has that well in hand. Bill, you said you want the rules by Sunday?
Yeah, I've gone away from really setting secure dates. Just whenever the debate peters out, when I'll try to solicit everybody gets me the rules they want to put on the ballot. It's open to anything and the wording you want to use. So we're hoping to do it by Sunday, but if there's stragglers, it's okay. Then I'll release an official ballot, which will be debated again until it peters out, people are done, and then we'll vote, and until I get all the votes. So it's a little more laid back. We want to make sure it's very much more inclusive, and somebody wants to take the time, put something together, or even propose something off the wall, go ahead.
What I would like, Bill, is a preliminary ballot this weekend sometime.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, Sunday is the goal, but if somebody wants to sneak something in, we can do that.
Right, to spur debate and so people can see, oh, hey, I thought that was on the ballot. No? Okay, let me put it on, kind of deal. So that would be great.
Okay. Yep.
So that process is well in hand. And I think, well, there has been some emails concerning next year's draft location, but I think discussions in earnest can wait until after the rules process has run. We all know the date's going to be. I mean, I don't because I don't have a calendar in front of me right now. It's going to be the Sunday after Labor Day, 2015. A quick look at my calendar.
Looks like
says
the weekend of September 12th and 13th.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So there you have it.
Yeah.
So the when, the where will be debated then. And I said this last year, but I'm going to say it again. Saying, what about Chicago does nothing. It does nothing. What about Montreal? What about New Orleans? You know what? Do the research, have someone else do the research, and come up with a better plan than that.
Yes.
I'm not voting for what about Vegas. I'm not voting for what about Denver.
Right.
What exactly am I voting for? So,
That's a great point.
We have a lot of months lead time. So, I mean, I understand we're all busy. You know what? One weekend this offseason, 3/10 a season. During the season, everybody's engaged. They're all setting lineups. They're checking roster for waiver wire transactions and injury transactions. Pretend it's a weekend for 1 week. Take 2 or 3 hours and do the research and put in a valid submission, and we'll put it forward. Myrtle Beach works great for us.
Chief,
I think half the league would be happy if we don't go back for 10 years. And I'm not necessarily opposed to going somewhere else.
Chief, if I may interrupt, that's an awesome point. So people who bitch about where we go or the location or whatever, you know what? Come up with a plan and put something together. So I agree 100%.
And keep in mind the main points. Matt Smith sent out a pretty good email, talking about ease of getting there, which pretty much rules out Key West. Which I'd love to have a draft in Key West, but he's right. The closest airport, we're talking 130 miles away or something like that. So, what's important. We have to have accommodations. We have to have a pool or, think outside the box. I don't care, but the important thing is it's somewhat affordable. And if it's going to be a destination, make it, a worthwhile destination. Nobody wants to get on an 8-hour flight to go to Salt Lake City. So, I just leave it at that. Just get proposals, do the work, and I would love to see an alternative to Myrtle Beach. I really would. We could do the same.
Somebody's phoning one in right now. That's
Somebody's phoning in, exactly. The phone-in location to be determined.
Yeah, I was so disappointed we didn't have a draft or a trade during the webcast this year. So maybe next year.
I'll have to work on that.
Maybe we'll get one done tonight.
So we'll get the draft location nailed down, and then it's the long part of the off season. That's your scouting. That's your trading. As we try to manipulate the keeper list to what we want going into the draft. So number 1, we have the rules, and number 2, the draft location. Number 3, trade me some players.
If I may nag the league a little bit, yeah, I think the key thing right now is if the draft weekend is September 11th, being that Friday through the 13th. Get those dates on the calendar with your wife. Get those dates on the calendar at your office. Lock that in as soon as you can. Okay, let's open things up here a little bit. I'm going to fast forward us to the Around the Tube segment. We'll talk about a few things here as a group before we get into some structured looks at what's ahead for the league. And let me start again with our defending champs, the Giant Killers. No better place to start. Berto, two quick questions for you. First one, what's the outlook for 2015? Is there a three-peat in the works? What's on the goals list for the Giant Killers in 2015?
What's on the goals list? So we haven't done the goals list yet, Steve, but I will absolutely send that to you when it's formulated. But yeah, we got to get a little younger. Sure. So I'm the oldest team in the league. That's never a good thing.
It's gonna be kind of tough without a first-round pick.
Or a second-round pick.
The cost of
that's always a challenge, though. We'll work around that. Yeah, we got a little younger with Jeremy Hill, so that's good. Good young running back, very promising. Yeah, Romo's getting a little older. He's 35, I believe. So he's getting up there. Yeah, the running backs are getting a little older, but I think they got some gas left in the tank. So, is it a burning platform to get younger? No. I need to pick my spots. I'm not going to purge the entire roster, but we gotta figure out a way to get a little injection of youth.
Will this team
Will this team three-peat? I think we'll be in the mix. We will absolutely be in the mix. So.
Okay, real quick. Any fear that franchises might start to shy away from doing business with the Giant Killers? You seem to win all your big trades, and who really wants to help you win a 5th title in 7 years?
Well, Bill fleeced me on the Demaryius Thomas trade. Chief got me on a Brady trade that he brought up a couple weeks ago. Several years ago, so I've lost plenty of trades in my day. I'm going to send out offers just like every other owner, and they'll either be something that people can get their heads around and accept and do a deal with me, or they can say fuck you and I'm not going to make a deal with you, and I don't want to see you win again. But
yeah, sign me up for that one.
Yeah, Berto, my offer is closed to you. I don't think you and I have ever made a trade, and I'm pretty confident we won't.
No, I hadn't made a trade with Ralph until that Romo Decker deal. I think I can't remember making another trade with him. I've made plenty of deals with Stick. I think I've been on the losing and winning end of some of those. I think Bill definitely. That's the worst trade I ever made was Demaryius Thomas, and I still try and get Demaryius
always
Thomas.
come up no matter any time I'm on the webcast. Berto's got to make either apology or a declaration.
But you'll get at least one offer for him every offseason.
Not necessarily realistic.
But we've made some other deals. The deal he made for Jeremy Hill that could have blown up in my face. It didn't. It turns out to be the number 12 pick, but that could have been, a bad pick or a bad trade rather. So people should still make deals with me. Absolutely. Don't shut me out.
All right. Topic number 2 here around the tube. Bill, I want to talk to you a little bit as our guest. Let me give you the floor. We talked a little bit about your rules-making timeline here. Tell us, how are things shaping up? Which proposals at this point look like they might have enough momentum that we need to be paying attention to them?
Well,
and is there any feedback you want to solicit on any proposals from the panel here?
Yeah, as you recall, the last time when I was on with you guys, I had been using. We talked about the kind of stuff I've been doing as far as rules chairman, and I've been using the polling system in our on the TFFL website to find out which rules have a good chance of going. So we're not wasting time with pie in the sky kind of stuff. So, I mean, I've got a pretty good idea that the DST points for any turnover generated is going to pass. And I'm just going to I think I'm going to promote this as something that I think anytime there's a little more interest in something that's only going to get you 1 or 2 points, something you can cheer about for 1 or 2 points. It's not majorly changing things. I think that's kind of fun. The running back half PPR, I'm not sure that's going to fly. We have a solid anti-PPR contingency in the league, and I usually receive some scolding comments about PPR whenever I mention it. So I'm still throwing stuff out there. We might get another free agent pick passed, depending on if somebody will sponsor it. Remember, every rule has to have a sponsor. They're going to write the language and be a promoter of it. So we'll need somebody to take up that issue. I kind of like the running back rush and catch yards combined. It would only mean 1 possible point per game, but it does then you go after total yards for running backs instead. And we're trying to change up maybe running back scoring little bits here and there if people are interested. But again, these are just some ideas that we're throwing out.
Hey, Bill, can I jump in here?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I was just going to get to Chief because you have 5 paragraphs screed about some rule things, and I didn't have a chance yet to analyze that and put it in format that might work. But
no, I was going to talk about any of that.
Diligent.
Every year it seems we talk about, and it's true, the disappearance of the stud running back from the NFL. We've talked about oftentimes changing to 2 running backs or to allow another tight end. Well, listen, I don't know which way I would vote, but we're talking things like point per reception. We're talking things like maybe kickoff return yardage or combined, rushing and passing. All of a sudden, some of these other running backs are legitimate starters. All these guys, who's that guy in Oakland, Marcel Reese, for years is, getting 13 receptions a game. If you want to go on the Wayback Machine, guys like Larry Centers are all of a sudden pretty valuable guys. And with the disappearance of legitimate starting running backs, it might be worth examining.
Yeah, and you and I had a quick discussion about this, whether it was possible within the CBS Sportsline format of whether we could limit the maximum number of points for a PPR. So you can have 0.5 points per PPR with a maximum of 5 possible PPR points, or maximum 3 possible PPR points. So it does give. Again, we're trying to make some subtle changes that keep us more interested, but won't give somebody a 10-point change in the point swing. The winners are still going to win. You get down to close games with a half-point PPR, well, then we're getting rid of, by the math, half of our ties, and everybody hates the ties. So if we can, I think that's something that at given time we might be able to get past. I don't know if there's a groundswell for it now, but obviously if anybody wants to sponsor it and work on that, then by all means we'll put it on the ballot.
Thanks, Bill. Okay, topic 3 around the tube tonight. Let's do a little trend spotting, if you will. I want you guys to think big picture here a little bit, look ahead to our 2015 TFFL draft, and tell me one thing we should be watching for in the upcoming draft. Things perhaps like kickers going earlier and earlier. We saw Gostkowski go in the 4th round this year. We know Berto has made that a successful strategy in years past, getting Gostkowski or a kicker early.
Well, Stick, I just have to mention I like the fact that you put Gostkowski in the mix for the Lizards keepers. I caught that.
That
was quite fun.
In a second.
No one noticed.
Speaking of the Lizards, they had success this year with Trey Mason, Odell Beckham in the middle rounds. These were rookies who weren't going to play early in the year, but paid off big in one form or another for the Lizards. Might people be more encouraged to take those early round gambles? Or another trend I want to think about here is the top 2 rookie quarterbacks. Are they going to go as early as, say, Luck and Griffin did the year they came out?
Another trade.
Yes.
Live trade.
Well, since you're on the phone, I'll jump in here. I don't think there's going to be a huge change in overall draft strategy. I think that the people realize that the trend in the NFL is you ride a rookie running back into the ground for his first contract and then get somebody cheaper. So I would expect people to still tab rookie running backs. either hoping they hit the lottery ticket and they got an Adrian Peterson, LaShawn McCoy, kind of Adrian Foster, every down back, or B, they got a guy who's a backup for an aging running back, maybe a 27, 28-year-old running back who they're going to move out because he's going to be too expensive. So, I mean, listen, I've said many times that this league runs on quarterbacks, but I'm not ready to anoint any rookie quarterback, the next Andrew Luck, the next Aaron Rodgers, and I'm not going to waste a first-round draft pick on that 0.1% chance he is. So I expect people to still grab those rookie running backs because they have value.
Yeah. So my perspective on this is I think the league still runs on running backs, right? So I think last year was an aberration. You had the best wide receiver draft maybe of all time, right? NFL rookies, and not the what proved out to be not the strongest running back class. So I think there'll be a return more to the norm next year. I think you won't see, at least there's not the well-hyped receivers out there, Amari Cooper and a couple of the guy from West Virginia, I can't remember his name.
White.
Yep. So there's a couple out there, but generally the big names again are back to the rookie running backs. So you have Gurley, you have Gordon, the guy at Indiana. So it's kind. I think it'll revert back to back to the running back. We had our year of stupendous wide receivers, but I think if you can get a guy like Melvin Gordon, who appears to be the next coming of Jamal Charles, or a Todd Gurley, who looks spectacular even with the injury, the ACL, I think it's gonna revert back to that. So
I won't disagree with that. I think it's always this league. It's about running backs, and it's about having the third one that you can start and a couple of anchors at the top that are going to score most weeks. They're going to carry you, and so getting those guys when you're at the top of the draft is what you got to do. Unless there's Andrew Luck, and that's but that, like a couple guys already said, I don't think Mariota is that guy. Jameis Winston might, who knows? He's got an arm, but has he got the head for it? I don't know, and that's a little early for those guys. And there are rookie quarterbacks and receivers to be had later, so it's got to be about the running backs.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is you do eventually come up with those wide receivers that bust in there. I mean, you might have one or two running backs who are already penciled in to start, and by week one they're going to be starting, and then you've got another two or another three that you think will take over a year after the aging running back steps out. I mean, we saw with it, and it's never going to be a 100% shot. I mean, we saw what happened with Gio Bernard, who basically was the number one pick of those three backs last year or 2 years ago, and he's now in a two-back set, but still secondary to Jeremy Hill. So I still think there's room for wide receivers to be picked in the top 3 or 4 if you have somebody like Cooper, I think, who is has that kind of ability to get separation, make the tough catch, and he's played in big games. So and then there's going to be 2 other guys. I mean, Randy Moss was way down the list, and that was when they were taking wide receivers in the first round. So you never know where you're going to get that guy, but I think there still are guys. And the thing about the combine and all that stuff is you never know. Some guy's going to show up. You're like, where did this guy come from? And, Devin Funchess, my God, he ran a 4.47. That's ridiculous. Then he's suddenly in the play. And if guys feel like they missed out on all the ones that were available last year, they might be looking to take somebody early this year.
Yep. Okay, we'll talk a lot more about the draft here coming up. So let's step away from the tube. Let's start diving deep into 2015. And I'm gonna try to set the stage here with a quick keeper outlook. I'm very excited to break down our first look at 2015's projected keeper lists for every franchise. And
Gostkowski.
Yeah, Gostkowski maybe. And I'm not excited just because I'm geeked up about the 2015 season 9 months in advance. But folks, if this works right, we're going to have our first computer-generated graphic, and something that should hopefully make this go a lot faster here. So give me a moment. Let's see if I can make this work.
I'm confident.
I think you can, Stick. This is doable.
Don't talk.
Yeah.
All right.
Here it is.
Talk.
Okay, so I'm going to try to talk over this for a second. Why don't you guys on the panel take a look at this, start thinking about 1 or 2 points you might want to make. Folks at home can stare at this for a while I'm talking. And Chief, I think, if you don't mind, lock this into the essential document and send this around for the league to have on file.
Sure. I'll actually put it on the website.
Perfect. So you can see here I've got the projected keeper lists, who I'm forecasting each team will keep. You'll see also in the mix row for each team, and maybe some interesting suggestions there, including Steven Gostkowski for the Lizards. Who knows what happens with Adrian Peterson for the Lizards? They may have an open spot there.
Am I wrong, or did you get the SoCo East and West mixed up?
Oh, maybe I did. That might have been sloppy. I'm sorry. At one point, I was spelling the word East, E-E-S-T. So glad I cleaned that up. So yeah, let me call out 3 things for you guys, and then I'll back out of this and let you identify some insights you want to share. Quickly, let's take a look at the oldest and youngest franchises. I've highlighted those here, and I'll circle them as best as I can with my cursor. The Giant Killers, our oldest franchise, 28.6 years old. The Lizards, our youngest franchise, 24.1 years old. Just look at that team with luck, those great receivers. The Lizards are going to be good for a long time. And you can see most, 8 of the franchises, I think, fall between 25 and 27 years old. We really just have the Dirt Devils and the Giant Killers at the older end of the spectrum, and the Lizards, and who's our other young one, the Hormel Hams, 24.9, just under 25. And we talked about this a little bit. The Giant Killers, I think, are going to have a tough time getting younger. That team's just going to obviously get older with the studs it's going to keep. Without the first and second round picks, they're not going to get a huge infusion of young keeper talent. Second thing I wanted to point out here, 2 teams I am projecting not to keep quarterback. That's the Sponge Fishermen down here, leaving Phillip Rivers to the side. And of course the Steel City Mongols for a second straight year. This time not keeping RG3 or Jay Cutler. So they may be the first franchise for the second straight year to go get a quarterback in the draft. Last thing I want to point out, and then I'll step aside here, K-Wheels. Do they keep Peyton Manning? Does Peyton Manning return to the NFL? If he does he necessarily return to the K-Wheels? I'll be curious to hear from Hank. He's got to at least be somewhat eager to keep Teddy Bridgewater. Guys, I'm going to try to back out of this. Tell me what you see here.
Well, just because you talked about me last, I'll go real quick. I thought Peyton looked really, really old last weekend against in the playoffs, and obviously had the quad tear. Obviously, it concerns me a little bit that he may say that this is enough, and he's got a nice exit point. I hope not. I hope he comes back, but who knows with the coaching situation in Denver, he may not want to deal with it. We'll see. I hope he's going to play, and if he does, I think I'll keep him. I don't think the trade value would probably be there, but you never know. We'll see. That obviously is something I'll be watching closely. But the other thing I want to mention is if you take him out of my average age, I'm way lower.
Yeah, the quarterbacks can really skew things, no doubt.
Yep.
Just to touch on Manning, if he does stick around, it's not necessarily the issue with week 1 or week 5 or week 8. It's week 13, 14, 15, where Phil wants to be at the end of the year.
Yep.
And that's what happened this year. He looked fine. He looked fantastic up until, whatever it was,
December.
week 11. You rode him to a good record, a 7-0 start or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the concern. He the last couple years he's looked really old when you've needed him to be really good, and that's the issue. You're a playoff team, and you want that guy who's going to compete at the end of the year during our playoffs, and he hasn't been that guy.
No, and I don't know that I have any indication that next year will be different. And I think that's the thing that really is kind of a stark reality, is that, hey, he's probably the best quarterback in the league weeks 1 through 9, and then he declines and only gets worse when you really need him. And so, what's the value with a guy like that? And is that who you want to build your team around? So, we'll see. We'll see. No decisions.
Chief, how about you? Lie to us about what you're thinking about with Phillip Rivers.
Well, I don't. I'm not going to comment specifically on Phillip Rivers. I would be surprised if I don't keep a quarterback. And maybe Rivers, it may not be. I'd like to get a better quarterback, but is there really any out there that's going to be available? I mean,
that's
if
why
I offer my entire team to the Beavers for Aaron Rodgers, would he even take it? I don't know. I mean, quarterbacks so valuable and they're so rare. Essentially, there's 2 right now. There's Rodgers and there's Luck. Right? You can't count on Manning. You can't count on Breeze. You can't count on Brady. So everybody else is kind of like, Rivers, Roethlisberger, Romo, whatever. One's as good as another. We'll have good weeks and bad weeks. Looking at my roster, I'd like to keep some young guys. I look at guys like Jonas Gray, guys like Dante Moncrief. These guys you didn't put on the list that I'm really thinking about keeping. And of course, we'll see what happens to the Patriots with the Blunt, Ridley, Gray, jumble they have there. Not that Ridley has much leverage right now on contracts. He could go someplace like Indianapolis and be an instant starter. So it's kind of early right now to figure who the keepers are going to be. All that said, it would surprise me if I didn't keep a quarterback. Because if you don't, you're essentially left in a draft with 1 or 2 guys you would trust to start. And that would be using a second, third round pick to get one of them. And I don't want to do that.
No, and that's why I'm thinking I'm going to end up keeping Cam Newton. I just don't see a ton of better options that'll be out there. Hey, Bill, I got to imagine you have some interest in trying to squeeze Allen Robinson onto your keeper list.
Well, Allen Robinson and Kyrie Allen Robinson and Kyrie Robinson. That's going to be a tough decision we're going to have with Andre Ellington or Robinson, depending on what the Saints do. If Ingram leaves, they have confidence in him starting, and that'd be a great addition to our running back stable. Ellington may be trade bait with one of our first-round picks to move up, so we'll have to see how that plays out. I'm interested to see that Andre Johnson doesn't look like he's a keeper. That's kind of sad. He had some great years with the Beavers, and we were very proud to have him on our team. And he's kind of been kicked around a little bit, and I don't see that he really is keeper worthy on the K-Wheels.
He's probably my 9th guy. If I'm looking at it. Who knows? He's a good player, but I think you should probably look to draft him in the first round as early as possible.
Let him retire a slippery beaver.
Secondary, we'll put him back on the alumni club.
Okay, so anybody else with any thoughts on the projected keeper lists?
Yeah, I think Bruno's going to get younger when he doesn't keep Eric Decker. I can't imagine why anybody would keep Eric Decker right now.
He doesn't have any better options.
Terrence Williams is a better option. That'll bring the age, that'll be about a 5-year difference in age right there.
Justin Black.
Dan Heron.
Eric Decker's only 28 years old.
Right, what's Williams, 23?
How about a 2016 second for Justin Blackman?
Why?
Hey,
when's the last time he caught a pass?
Stud.
How about Dan Boom Heron for the Killers? That's an option.
That's absolutely an option.
Hey,
so I had a couple other observations here, Stick.
Go for it.
So we already talked about the Lizards. They're young, they're real, and they're spectacular. Those wide receivers.
Nice.
You know, that is fantastic. His wide receiver core is amazing. We're going to get into that when we get into the trades a little bit because I don't think those running backs you can win with, but we'll talk about that in a bit. The Senators, old quarterback and god-awful running backs. Really, that's a mess. Again, Monte Ball and Shane Vereen is just not going to get it done in any shape or format. The Hams and the Ampac. So how much is Ralph regretting that C.J. Anderson deal now? He looks like the real deal. He looks like the guy in Denver. And it kind of goes against what Ralph was trying to do was get that young stud. Instead, he swapped C.J. Anderson for a 28-year-old C.J. Spiller.
Well,
so that's not helpful. Obviously, you got a lot of other things in that too.
There was Bishop, thank you,
and everything else. But
well, listen, if Peyton Manning retires, is C.J. Anderson still a good? Is he still a premium running back? Or were teams just living in fear of Peyton Manning? And look, Monty Ball looked great early in the year. Ronnie Hillman looked great between those two. So
that's a fair point. That's a fair point. Yep. What else? I think those are the big things. The Mongols. The Mongols and the Sponge. I see them holding on to a quarterback. Something will happen there, but we'll see.
Yeah. If I don't make a trade this offseason, it will probably be 50-50 that I keep a quarterback or not. If it comes down, if a guy like Reggie Wayne retires, or when Hakeem Nicks gets cut from the Colts, and Dante Moncrief enters into the top 2 receivers in that offense, he's being kept. If it's kept over Phillip Rivers, then that's fine. I'm okay with that. So. But again, I'd like to maybe package some guys in a deal, and we'll see what happens.
Well, if we want to talk deals, and the Aliens are on here with the number 3 pick, Aliens, are you interested in multiple first rounders for that?
Hold on! Don't steal my thunder yet.
All right, fair enough.
We'll be getting to that. Okay, well, let me wrap up the keepers just with 2 quick thoughts. One is a clarification before I get any hate emails. The average ages in that spreadsheet are as of September 1st, 2015, right before the start of the season. So keep that in mind.
You think someone's got to check your math?
Yeah, come on.
Somebody might. Yeah.
Yes, we will.
Somebody will.
Ralph.
Okay, second thing.
Glittering idiot.
Yeah. We'll have plenty of time to talk about Jameis Winston, but yeah, I got to think. We've talked a lot about how you need to try to get one of these difference-making stud quarterbacks, how it makes all the difference in the world. If you think there's even a 50-50 shot, or even maybe a 33% shot that Jameis Winston can be a 40-touchdown quarterback, be a difference maker. And if you're one of those teams who's got maybe keepers, maybe not at your quarterback slot, aren't you kind of obligated to think about him in the first round? I'll be real curious to see how early he goes this year. At the moment, I think he's ahead of Mariota.
At some point, teams without QBs have to make a risk spot. If you want a guy for 10 years, it takes 1, 2, 3 tries to get that guy.
We'll see. That's a big question, I think. Okay, so we've just talked about keepers a lot. Let me step out of the way here and let's shift focus a little bit to the draft, to both the NFL draft and the TFFL draft. We're going to start here in a moment with Hank. I want Hank to tee us up with just a real quick look. The top of the TFFL draft order. You can obviously see this in the essential document. But tell us which franchises are going to get the stud rookies, which franchises are lacking early picks, which franchises have lots to work with this year.
Yeah, obviously it's not a surprise that the Giant Killers and the K-Wheels are not anywhere near the first round, and we'll be picking much, much later. The Aliens are well positioned. You only got 1 first, but two seconds. The Beavers, as we've discussed ad nauseum with Bill, are well positioned with a couple of 3 first rounders. But at the top of the draft, the Boba Fett's are on the clock right now. They get to make the decision as to who it's going to be. Obviously, the NFL draft is going to play a huge role in this as to where people land and what kind of opportunities people have. The Impact picking very high at number 2, and then the Aliens. So we're going to see. I think the running backs come off the board, and the Sponge at 5 will have a chance to be the team that maybe reaches for Jameis Winston or Marcus Mariota or whoever they might like. Who knows? Because I think they'll probably be picking one of the other potential running backs at the top, maybe Amari Cooper. Although I'll bet he goes in the first 4 picks. We'll see. It's going to be interesting, of course, and the Beavers, could definitely. I already heard Thornburg rumble about packaging a couple of those to try and move up. So, there's some deals to be had.
I expect a lot of big deals to be made this offseason. And yeah, I think again, if the Sponge don't keep a quarterback, if the Mongols don't keep a quarterback, I believe they're number 5 and 6 in the order. Probably right as the top rookie running backs and Amari Cooper have gone off the board. I wonder if Jameis Winston looks like the best option at that point for one of them. Okay, draft preview part 2. Let's hand this off to Bill now. We've talked about the TFFL draft outlook. Bill, why don't you tell us about some of the players our TFFL teams might be looking to grab, or just players we should be paying attention to as we head into the NFL Combine season?
Yeah, thanks, Dick. The quarterback situation is basically that you got the guys at the top. You got Winston and Mariota, and that's basically it. I mean, if you want somebody wants to take a flyer halfway through the season on somebody else, maybe, but Connor Shaw or the kid at UCLA. But you're really looking at those 2 guys as the only ones who are worthy of a real potential keeper status, unless you get a Tom Brady in the 7th, and we all know that never happens. So beyond that, when you get to running back, Melvin Gordon, Todd Gurley stand out as 1-2. I think when Gurley does his private workouts and declares himself healthy, that's going to be a tough choice for somebody between those 2. Tevin Coleman at Indiana is really coming on strong. He had a great last half of the season. He's a big, strong back. And he could be within the mix of the top 3. After that, you've got a lot of guys who are just playing good backs, maybe not 3 down backs. The only exception being T.J. Yeldon, who I like as a guy who's been around an Alabama program for a while. But beyond that, you got a lot of guys someone's always going to surprise. There's going to be a Giovanni Bernard. There's going to be a Jeremy Hill who comes out of nowhere and does a great job at the Combine. But it's a really, much like last year's draft was heavy in wide receiver, there are at least 4 running backs that I think should go in the first round of our draft, 4 rookie running backs, and there might even be 5 or 6. So with the wide receivers, obviously we've talked about Amari Cooper. He's a 5-tool guy. It's like a baseball phrase. He gets separation. He makes catches. He's got not top-end speed, great, but he's got a 4th gear that'll make him work. And again, he's played in big games in the SEC. The kid from West Virginia, Kevin White, a little longer, a little leaner, bigger top-end speed guy. Same with Devontae Parker out of Louisville. And then you've got Devin Funchess, the sort of Mike Evans clone, at about 6'4", 235. A guy we want to keep our eye on, though, is Dorial Green-Beckham, a guy who didn't play last year. So on Missouri 2 years ago, got kicked off the team halfway through the year, but was widely considered the best wide receiver in the game before he got kicked off of Missouri. And he's going to be back in the draft, and he's the same size as Devin Funchess. Big guy, strong, Mike Evans, Kelvin Benjamin type guy. So there's a lot of talent here. It's a little more divided out. It's not like all wide receivers this year, much more running back centric, and obviously the 2 quarterbacks. And like we said, they could go at 5 and 6 with Sponge and the Mongols, or somebody might have some picks later on in the first round and pick up the quarterback they think. It's not a luck situation where he's the best guy to ever come out, but those 2 guys, quarterbacks are needed, and they've got the talent, so we'll see how that happens. No tight ends. No tight ends worth note.
I've seen Funchess sort of labeled as a tight end.
Yeah, he's a big wide receiver. But hey, look at the guys who went last year. I mean, Kelvin Benjamin 10 years ago was an offensive tackle. So it's the game is evolving. The back shoulder throws to the outside and the alley oops to the end zone. Quarterbacks are getting better at it. Wide receivers out of college know how to run those plays. So they come in and they contribute in the first and second year instead of waiting 3 or 4 years. Which, remember, we used to wait 3 years for wide receivers. Can't do that anymore. Guy's a bust after 3 years if he doesn't have 70 catches and 8 TDs a year.
Hey, the sleeper receiver you mentioned at the end, no relation to Odell Beckham?
No, this is Dorial Green Beckham out of Missouri. Green hyphen Beckham.
So, Bill, I had read a little bit about him too, and knew that he had the off the field issues, but I didn't get into it any more than that when I was looking at his name. What did he do exactly that got him kicked off? What other issues did he run into?
Why he got kicked off, I don't know, but it wasn't. It was the kind of stuff that the NCAA likes to do, not the kind that the criminal justice system.
Let's be careful not to slander anybody here on the.
I'm not. That's right. Public domain. Right.
If I recall, it was one of those like signing autographs kind of violations as opposed to kill somebody violation.
NCAA violation, not a criminal justice system violation.
Okay.
Didn't smack his bitch up.
Bill, once again, thank you for a fantastic preview.
My pleasure. I'll be able to update. I'll be able to take questions on my $5.95 a month site after the combine. I'll let people know about the combine results.
And when is the combine? Do you have those dates?
Yeah, it's coming up in I think 3 weeks.
Okay, good.
Yeah. There are actually 2 All-Star games this weekend. There's the NFL PA Bowl and the Senior Bowl of this weekend.
East-West Shrine Bowl.
Or East-West Shrine. Senior Bowl's the weekend after that, right? So.
We should probably clarify for our viewers that they should take Bill's advice with a grain of salt, because we just had this college football bowl mania challenge, and Bill got his ass kicked.
Yeah, and the group was called Thorny Never Loses.
Right.
Hank is the champion.
College football neophyte doesn't watch a single goddamn game all year.
I've been scouting the college ranks all season.
Good work.
It took a lot of work to make those picks.
All right, so we've talked keepers, we've talked draft. Let's talk trades now. Berto, a trade forecast. You've had a sneak peek at my keeper lists for a while now, keeping in mind some of the draft positioning that Hank outlined, some of the draft value that Bill forecasted. Tell us 5 or more TFFL trades that should happen this offseason.
Well, I've got a few. I don't have 5, but I have 3 good ones. So here we go. I'll run through them, and then you guys can comment. So the Lizards. So after making a run to the Pac Bowl this year, they realized the time is now or never. Almost the complete opposite from the team several years ago when they had the most lethal 1-2 punch at running back in AP and Chris Johnson, and were never able to sniff a Pac Bowl. So now they have arguably the best quarterback and a lethal and extremely young wide receiver combo, an incredible 1-2-3 punch of Hilton, Beckham, and Evans. But the running backs are the issue now. They're just not very good. I don't think you can count an AP or an AP and McKinnon combo. It's one or the other, but maybe neither. So the Lizards make a move for running back. Maybe not a huge move, but the Lizards number 23 overall killers for Dan Boom Herrick, who wins the job. And the Lizards will own the quarterback and running back and wide receiver in the high-powered Indy offense. So that's trade number 1. Not a big one. Number 2 involves the Beavers and the Aliens. So we almost alluded to this before, a little foreshadowing. So a lot of noise was made on both sides of the argument about the Beavers and the trading or lack thereof this year. With arguably the best quarterback in the TFFL, a top 2 or 3 running back in Le'Veon Bell, a wide receiver core that can rival anyone outside the Lizards, the Beavers realize that they're only one stud running back away from being a dominant team for a very long time. maybe a multiple pack bowl winning team. They've kept their powder dry and are now looking to attack. The Aliens, a team always looking to improve their long-term outlook, are in the mix. The Beavers send the number 9 overall and the number 12 overall and a first-round pick in 2016 to the Aliens to move up to number 3 overall, putting them in contention for a Melvin Gordon, Todd Gurley, Tevin Coleman, or TJ Yeldon. That is trade number 2.
That's a lot.
Trade number 3 involves the Mongols and the Hams. So the Mongols, this franchise has historically struggled, but they're now good. Not yet great or deep, but they boast a trifecta of young studs. Lacey, Des Bryant, and Cobb are as impressive as any trio in the league. Terry and Bobby, not badass, I can't drive 55 Vaughn, realizes they must make a move now or they're destined to muddle in mediocrity. Clearly, RG3 and his struggles were a setback, but it's time to move on. They figure getting a serviceable quarterback is a need. Rivers, Big Ben, and others are out there. The Mongols also realize Rashad Jennings is not the answer or even an answer. They need to make a bold move for running back as well. The Hams appear to be the perfect trading partner with the Mongols. The pickup of C.J. Anderson was huge. They've got a little breathing room at running back. And they just so happen to have an extra quarterback who plays for Pittsburgh that they aren't keeping. They're not quite sold on Andre Williams, and they're thinking they may want to take another crack in this year's deep rookie running back class. The Mongols send their number 6 overall and a second-round pick in 2016 to the Hams for Andre Williams and Big Ben, plus a couple pairs of 6th-round picks. So this wraps up the Giants' backfield for the Mongols. It also moves Frank Gore in as a Hams keeper. So the Mongols' keeper list would now look like Big Ben, Lacey, Freeman, Andre Williams, Des Bryant, Cobb, and Michael Floyd. So that would drop Jennings and Crabtree off of the keeper list. And I think it actually looks better at this point. The Hams will go Matt Ryan, C.J. Anderson, Giovanni Bernard, Frank Gore, Calvin Johnson, Sammy Watkins, and DeAndre Hopkins. And they now have some toys and picks to play with, and certainly that number 6 and the 7th pick overall, so the back-to-back in the first round this year. So those are the trades.
I like it, Berto. The one with the Hams, the last one, I was not feeling it right away, but then when you read back their keeper list, that really improves both their teams, and that makes some sense. So I hope they're listening, and I hope that they do that.
There we go. Thank you. So Aliens, Beavers.
I'm sure we'll be talking.
It was interesting to see the subject broached. That's pretty pricey there. We'll have to have some further discussions on that, and Beavers might have their sights set higher. So literally the Aliens are 3rd on the list. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, for 3 number 1s, I'd like to think you could probably get higher than the number 3 pick. I think at minimum you could probably get number 2. The last one was curious because Mike spent a number 3 overall pick on Andre Williams last year. Why was he going to trade it for a number 6 this year?
He was a number 4.
When you just said that Rashad Jennings isn't the answer, and I agree with you on that part. So we're shipping off a starting running back for a number 6 pick when you would hope to get a guy as good as Andre Williams at that draft spot. Seems a little odd to me. The 23 for Heron is a great trade for the Lizards. It's got to come down to, does he have a spot in his keeper list? And he probably does. I'm not looking at it right now. But I think that would be I think he's definitely worth the number 23 pick. But I'd trade you that right now for number 23 pick.
Awfully Colts heavy if he does that.
It is, and I personally I try not to invest too heavily in one team, but it happens sometimes.
Better than having 4 Minnesota running backs.
Just
You're right. He's heading in the right direction.
Yeah. It's Colts, Vikings in the Super Bowl or bust.
Yeah. So just to react, and you have a point about the Andre Williams trade, but I think the other thing there is he does get a second-round pick back in that as well. And you got to factor in Gore as well. So you get the second-round pick, Gore, and the number 6 overall in a class that will be a deep running back class. But your point is noted.
I guess it depends on what Gore's role is going to be this year, and that'll become apparent in August. My guess is he's not keeper worthy, but who knows?
All right, yeah, and with my obvious caveat with the keeper lists that, we're going to have the NFL draft, we're going to have trades, we're going to have injuries, we're going to have holdouts, we're going to have TFFL trades that shake things up.
Suspensions.
Suspensions, as you know firsthand. So that keeper list projected keeper list will change often throughout the offseason. Okay, let's answer our TFFL trivia question. I asked you which conference has the most collective lifetime Pac Bowl victories. 18 Pac Bowls now in the modern era from 1997 through 2014. Tell me what your guesses are. Who is Chief? Who do you have there?
The bad guys, NOCO.
The bad guys, NOCO. All right. The answer is the NOCO, but here's what makes it a little interesting. NOCO was up 9 titles to 8. Entering this last Pac Bowl, they had a chance to tie it up. Berto, obviously, with the win there, makes it 10-8, but especially thanks to the Dirt Devils, that's a lot closer than you might have imagined.
Too bad that's not worth $50.
Yeah.
Chief, last time, my apologies. I cut you off. I want to make sure I don't miss out on a rant this week. You might have already done so in ranting about people who throw out things like, let's have the draft in Chicago.
Yeah. To be honest,
something else, please.
That was a good early rant. I appreciate it.
I totally forgot there was a rant element to the webcast. I am horribly unprepared for that. Well, let me do something quick, because I read something today that was talking about the worst commercials of the year. During the NFL, they have the same 20 commercials blasting every time out. And the consensus, which I agree with wholeheartedly, is the Rob Lowe DirecTV commercials. I may have mentioned this in an email before, so if I have repeated myself, I apologize. But listen, the real life, flesh and blood, Rob Lowe is pretty fucking creepy. He doesn't need to be socially awkward, have arm hair curtains hanging down, to be a paranoid fuck. He's a creepy guy. Didn't he rape his babysitter or something? I mean,
here we go with the slander again.
He's the creepiest one of any of those commercials. I agree.
I mean, he's creepy. He's a creepy guy. He's not really gonna make me switch to DirecTV. I don't know.
I'm angry at DirecTV for that whole campaign, and that would make me less likely to consume their product.
Was Andrew McCarthy not available? I mean, there's John Stamos unavailable. I mean, come on. We got dig guys up that in 1984 my best friend's sister had hanging up on her wall, and that's gonna be your pitch man.
Young blood.
Fuck DirecTV. Fuck Rob Lowe. His arm curtains. His can't stop saying bro, kind of stuff. It's just awful. Commercials in general awful. I think that's the worst. But I think I'm in the wrong goddamn business, because I could shit something out. And I might do it after this webcast. Sorry for the F-bomb there, Brooke. Didn't realize you were listening.
Yeah.
So let's wrap up rant.
I've got a quick mini rant against the NFL experts in the booth who are making calls on what the outcome of replay should be. They are invariably wrong. I think I watched all 4 games this weekend. Almost every single time they said, well, this will be overturned. It wasn't. or this time it won't be overturned, and it was. It was ridiculous, like almost spot on every single time they were wrong.
Bill, I'll do you one better. Ex-referee Mike Carey is 0 for the season.
Is that true?
Yes.
Oh my God.
On his expert review on whatever network he does. I don't even know. 0 for the season.
Nice.
Whether something was going to be overturned or not.
I hope he's at least drinking in the booth.
Now I know why he's an ex-referee.
It's a
That's
shame.
That's true.
The shit is
Over the season?
We were better than that, and hang your hat.
I know.
Barely. I was barely.
I was better
flow
than that in college football picking.
Barely.
Flow of the game's horrible.
Barely.
Okay, so hey, we are right at an hour. How about we wrap it up here? I'm very excited that we introduced the innovation of the computer-generated graphic.
Yeah.
I think next time we need to work on figuring out the 7-second delay before we slander anybody else. Drinking in the booth. But we'll keep working on improving the webcast throughout the offseason. Thank you guys. Great webcast. I'm looking forward to watching it. I hope it's helpful to everybody as you start to think about trades and keeper decisions. I'm looking forward to a really, really active offseason. Bill, we might be talking. Berto, we might be talking. We'll see.
Absolutely.
Maybe we'll come back on here, do this again around the time of the NFL draft. But in the meantime, work with Bill on your rules proposals. I'm looking forward to seeing if anything new passes. And get your draft proposals to whom? To Chief? To Berto? To Rich?
Draft proposals?
Yeah.
Again, to Rich, CC me.
Okay. And again, put September 11th through 13th on your calendars. 2015 is here. We're rolling. Talk to you guys soon.
Yeah, it's good to see you all.
Bye.
It's good, everyone.